In 1988, Governor Jim Martin began a long effort to locate a hazardous waste incinerator. The goal, a cheap way for the state's industry to dispose of its liquid chemical byproducts. 21 sites across the state were targeted. This became a 5-year environmental showdown between a big business governor and concerned North Carolina citizens.
We got a visit from Billy Elmore with just laundry baskets full of information. That information was really fast forward that helped us just tremendously in deciding that this was something that we did not want in our community. The risk to our children, to ourselves, to generations of future residents was threatened by this effort from the state. The state's plan, if it was a plan, it ended up backfiring for them. They learned really fast that N.C. Warren and the groups in Granville County followed the effort by the state. Anywhere the state went with the idea of sponsoring the hazardous waste incinerator, our groups followed them.
We don't want you in Rowan, we don't want you in Hairdale, we don't want you in North Carolina.
By bringing in international experts to counter state, federal, and polluter propaganda, N.C. Warren proved that burning hazardous waste is extremely dangerous, producing dioxin, mercury, and other toxins.
If I was a citizen of North Carolina, I would not trust the state to protect me.
We eventually helped a lot of different people in encouraging the company, Thermochem, to just give up on any effort to put it anywhere in North Carolina.
It's madness to burn this stuff and send it up a smokestack. There's no way you can get rid of all.
We have kept a long-term commitment to groups like N.C. Warren that have proven themselves to be truly not only interested but effective in protecting our state.
In the summer of 1978, Raleigh Company Ward Transformer illegally dumped 30,000 gallons of highly toxic PCB-laced oil along 240 miles of North Carolina roadsides. Governor Jim Hunt soon chose a 75% minority community in one of the state's poorest counties to bury the chemical waste. The United States EPA waived 2 regulations that would have prevented the landfill.
It was brought in Warren County. It was put there because we were poor and black. We just been helpless. We marched, we did everything we could do. But the state was already ahead of us. They sent their little helicopter things down and folks jumped out. They parked them all out here in the farm field, in my field. They parked them up there in the church property. You had to have permission to come home while they were dumping it out there.
After 3 lawsuits and a series of hearings, citizens in Warren County drew weeks of national attention in 1982 by peacefully resisting state efforts to bring over 7,200 truckloads of the hazardous waste into their community.
I didn't want to leave home, nowhere to go. With just a high school education, but it was rough. Definitely was rough. It was hard times.
By 1993, the dump was failing. A citizen state working group, including N.C. Warren, was formed and worked for many tension-filled years as the failing site was studied and cleanup technologies were assessed.
And so with his working group working hard like they did, they began to get monitor wells around it. And that was something Mr. Warren and them made sure that happened. The monitor wells was, trying to determine how far the PCBs was getting around in the neighborhood. That was a wonderful thing. I knew it was endangering our lives, but I couldn't do nothing about it, just myself.
N.C. Warren members helped Warren citizens convince the governor and legislature to fund the decontamination, totaling $18 million.
The governor had said if there ever became technology to clean it up, it would be done. So he kept his word. But it wasn't easy. That made you feel better about your home.
2 years ago, it was worth something like $200 or $300 an acre. Right now it's worth anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 to $7,000 an acre, just because that PCBs is gone. But at this point, I'm just as happy as I can be, because one more time, look like when I go on to glory, that this land can be used.
Gradually, citizens and state officials cooperated to complete in late 2003 a long, difficult effort to gain environmental justice for Warren County.
Eight states tried to put a low-level radioactive waste site on the border between a rural county and the state capital, which was under the thumb of the big utilities. And this basically would have served the big utilities. Almost all the waste was from nuclear power plants.
They target this area because they surveyed the people around the area, and they found out the average income and the education level was kind of low. So it was one area they is kind of stuck out to them, you know, the target.
And it was a long, technical, difficult struggle for over 10 years. And I represented the rural local county. And N.C. Warren came in after a couple of years and consistently was able to generate public outrage and concern, questions, very sophisticated. N.C. Warren was very smart. They used different tactics at different times.
N.C. Warren persisted with its message that the term low-level waste was deceptive, that the dump was being sought primarily to bury reactors and their components. Also, that thousands of nuclear shipments would endanger the regional public.
You got a voice, and where you can win on this thing is people power.
And we were able to, through their pressure, through the technical side that we worked on, after 10 years, it became much too expensive to make the site worthwhile. And at that point, the governor was able to tell the legislature it's okay to pull out of the compact.
Solite is a company that was burning, incinerating hazardous materials, which was coming out of the smokestacks and poisoning the community. And the community folks there engaged in probably a 10-year struggle to try to stop that. And the last several years of that struggle, N.C. Warren was involved, and I think did a masterful job of trying to help focus and galvanize that people power.
N.C. Warren helped local group Scotch expose government documents proving that Solite was releasing dangerous amounts of dioxin and arsenic into the air, and that Attorney General Easley's office had thwarted attempts by regulators to shut down the controversial polluter.
Solite was allowed to appeal it and continue operation, and they're operating today as they want to under a settlement agreement that was negotiated by the Attorney General's office. And in that settlement agreement, they totally betrayed the citizens of our county. They sold us out for a big business and industry in that settlement agreement, because that settlement agreement was the nearest nothing that's ever been put on a piece of paper.
I think one of the good things that N.C. Warren does is helps to demystify these things and have regular people realize that they can play a role.
I'm no expert, but I've learned enough. This company cannot comply with air toxics with that decrepit, leaking, aging facility.
And I believe as primarily the culmination of that 10-year struggle, that one meeting with that intensity resulted in the plant not shutting down, but stopping the burning of the hazardous waste there at that facility.
Even while the Solite and Warren County projects were still raging, N.C. Warren took on another very serious challenge. In late 1998, N.C. Warren exposed CP&L's plan to create the nation's largest high-level waste stockpile at the Sharon Harris nuclear plant.
11 local governments and several leading newspapers joined NC Warren's call for open hearings. Then Orange County led a legal challenge to try to get scientific hearings.
We were very interested and very, very concerned about what that meant for the safety of our citizens and the safety of the population of the Triangle area. And the Board of Commissioners decided that they would support NC Warren and work with them to try and persuade CP&L to make other choices than store all the high-level nuclear waste in our area.
Top scientists warned that cooling pools filled with so-called spent fuel rods are vulnerable to acts of malice and that an attack or accident could cause an unprecedented nuclear disaster. NC Warren members and local officials urged federal politicians to help, but the activists were left to protest at Senator Edwards' office when he reversed his earlier call for open hearings.
Well, performers such as Bonnie Raitt and Crosby, Stills and Nash helped raise money and public awareness.
For a little bit of extra money, less than 1% of their net profits, they can totally avoid this additional risk, and we intend to force them to do that. And these folks are here tonight to help us. Thanks a lot. Here's Bonnie Raitt.
You rock, dude. Thank you, Bonnie. I just want to say to the staff of NC Warren, you guys kick some serious butt. And whoever has been supporting you, and we are going to get the word out, hopefully, because this is a nightmare you got in your backyard coming up.
Don't trust the corporate media at all on anything, but especially not on your own personal safety and your own health and the health of your children and the health of their children. I just want to thank NC Warren for keeping up the struggle. And as they said, they need to win this one, but we need to win every one.
As in the past, NC Warren pushed for a solution. Store the deadly material in dry cask at each CP&L plant instead of shipping it to Sharon Harris each month. Due to the NRC's deeply flawed pro-industry review process, a number of NC Warren members engaged in nonviolent civil disobedience to pressure CP&L, now Progress Energy, to stop spending millions to block safety hearings. After 9/11, others realized what NC Warren had been saying. Nuclear plants and trains are poorly protected and are potential targets.
Well, it took 5 years of struggle, but in late 2003 we got what we wanted, and Progress Energy agreed to phase out the waste shipments to Sharon Harris and instead to use dry storage at its other nuclear power plants.
I think the most incredible thing is we've actually won. Many other scientists across the country who have not looked into this, it has convinced them to re-look at the dangers of storage of the nuclear waste in these pools.
NC Warren's continuing efforts to stop the transportation of high-level waste, to design strategies to store that high-level waste in safer ways for the citizens of North Carolina, to refuse to be derailed by the politicians and the pressure from CP&L have been absolutely crucial to the entire process.